Hey folks, today's video is one that I've pulled from my membership site fromthefield.tv, and it's a sample of a new series that we're doing called Open Consult. And this is where myself and a bunch of the other creators do consulting sessions for free for our members, and then we post them as content like you're going to see right now up at fromthefield.tv, but for the first time here on YouTube. And if you like this kind of stuff and you want to see more of it, I want to tell you about an offer that we're putting out right now to be a member of fromthefield.tv for life. We've never offered this before, and it's a way to become a member if you like what we do and be a member for life with a one-time payment. You can head over to lifetime.ftf.tv to check that out. If you're on the fence of being a member just in general of fromthefield.tv, here's a snippet of what some of our members are saying right now.
Educational.
Freedom.
Comprehensive.
Just great content.
Pretty much anything I wanted to learn as far as farming goes, I've been able to learn on From the Field.
I definitely love the site and just being able to have that encyclopedia of information.
So this is a great resource. I love these guys. I think they're fantastic. They're on point, and they've got a ton of information to share.
No matter what level you're at, there's something for you there.
The best part of From the Field is the Q&As that Curtis does. It's where farmers like myself or homesteaders get to ask personal questions, and Curtis will go into great detail on the answers with that. It's like a free consulting session.
With the addition to the open consults and the experts you're bringing on is just tremendous. Definitely a lot of value there.
He's adding videos all the time. Curtis and his team do a great job at keeping this thing worth your money.
I suggest everyone that I know that's into farming or homesteading sign up for From the Field.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed hearing from some of our members there. Let's jump into the Open Consult video now. Today's Open Consult is with a gentleman named Evan, and he's got a really cool agritourism project. I'm really excited to share this one with you guys. He's got access to a campground that's in Southern Ontario, Canada, and there's some really cool potential with this property to integrate a tourism element with a gardening and potentially farming element. We talk about taking people on a walking path that takes them through nature, into gardens. This is a really, really neat project. We explore some interesting ideas here. Let me start with just reading real quick Evan's original comment on the Open Consult comment section, and then we'll jump into the session. Evan says, "What's up, Curtis? What an amazing idea at such an important time. I've been following your YouTube channel for a few years and recently signed up for From the Field. I'm an industrial designer looking to embark on a new journey with growing food at its core. My wife and I are getting out of the city. We took our kids out of the school system this year and bought an RV to live in at a friend's property who has a 20 acres of farmland as part of a 50-acre campground. I've started to experiment with indoor growing, but plan to farm around a quarter acre this season. With the help of your content, my family and close friends, we plan to build 1 to 2 poly hoop houses, a chicken coop, and possibly a root cellar to store the goods for winter. This property has many growing plot possibilities. It's primary south-facing plus sloped and located near PEC in Southern Ontario, considered a Zone 5B and 6A. Could really use your help with the layout and ideas for best practices, as I've never farmed. I've built up a unique tiny house company over the years and would love to incorporate these off-grid cabins with lessons learned about growing for the many campers that roll through every season. It's like having a farmer's market come to you. The plan is all about food, shelter, and people. I've been truly inspired by your content and we're very grateful for an opportunity to work with you. Cheers." So that's it. This is a really cool project. I'm excited to share this with you guys. Enjoy. All right, Evan, thanks for joining me today here.
My pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
This is a neat little potential project you've got going on here. And why don't you share with us, give us the sort of the Cole's notes on yourself and what you're looking to do.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing like a design project of one sort or another for the last 20 years, whether it's building furniture. I've started getting into building tiny houses, done medical stuff. So I have a real hands-on approach. And I've always loved to kind of get involved in the prototype, and not just like the blue sky conceptual stuff. And then over time, you know, probably about 13 years ago, though, our family got together, we started seeing some things that we thought, hey, you know, there's at some point we would like to get some land, and we would like to figure out how are we going to be a bit more self-sufficient. So this was even forever ago, and I wish we had acted on it then. And we're really kind of fast tracking it now. So I have a background in understanding like CAD and how to 3D print things, like computer machining, like CNC routers, all that stuff, which is still kind of like a passive technology to me because it's not controlled by any kind of AI like robotics. Like you input the data, but you can get a lot of work done from a machine outside of like the human work, but it complements. Right. So I love that sort of zone. Yeah. So what I've done is I've built a couple of little companies based around that. And now we're at the point where really, really good friends of ours bought a sweet campground with about 50 acres. And I've been just roaming around there forever. Our kids and their kids are friends, so we've been hanging out. And I just walk around the fields. I'm thinking they actually had about 20 acres worth of farmland. So originally I'm like, bummer, farmland. Why not more campground? But now I'm going, oh my God, there's 20 acres of already tilled farmland by a local farmer who just deals with it. Doesn't do anything major. So I thought, spoke with this friend, and she's very entrepreneurial. And we're like, we got to do something with this at some point. So we've been thinking about that for 2 years. I've been digging into your content, going, yeah, like hey, some of these things make a lot of sense. And now here we are with a bit of a plan to say, hey, this season, and what I pitched to you, and I think maybe you thought was interesting, or at least unique, is that I'm just kind of taking myself, I'm not right in downtown Toronto or anything. I'm north, we're in the suburbs, like close enough to farmland, but yeah, we know what's going on. So we wanted to get on this land and start to learn how to use it. And these little cabins that I'm building, our goal was to create some kind of like an agritourism like scenario where, you know, we can teach people who come to the campground. So usually just kind of hang out, open like their fast food packets and boil them and stuff. Some of them are, you know, a bit more into it. Right. But maybe, yeah, like a zone where people can kind of come and learn a little bit more, get more hands-on. So in my business, we're getting this feed in constantly. And it's like, well, we want to buy 10 or 20 of these cabins because we want this new model, which are, it's like isolation pods. I don't use that to say you're isolated, but that's kind of a model. Like, what are you going to do with the Marriotts and the Hiltons of the world now that are all jammed together? Yeah. So all these companies are looking for like, how can we spread out? How can we use land? And then incorporate like a real lesson to be learned as part of the process. Don't just go like nothing wrong with sun, getting some sun and having some drinks by the pool, but I think people are looking for more. So that's where I'm at right now. And when you said open consult, I said, holy shit. All right. Awesome. Awesome. So that's where we're at.
Okay, so this whole parcel, like, so on the map you sent me, and I'll just share it. And it doesn't, we don't even have to, if I share this, we don't even have to share all
that's
of it.
Okay. It'll catch the streets and the parameters and the 401 and the highway and that, but that's
right, okay. There's these two this is all part of the land, right? That's wrapped in red. Yeah. So that's potential farmland down there.
It is. It already is actual farmland. And that was that little video that I sent, regardless if you saw it or not, that was the two zones. There's that zone that you're circling there. So that's like the lower left corner. And then the upper sort of left corner, if you scroll down, so you move the picture, no, the other way. Yeah, you see that that's all farmland there too, like more like a narrower. Yeah, that's all farmland as well.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's facing due west on the slope, and then this is facing southeast, which is very ideal.
Yeah, and it's hot because, you know, where this campground is, I've stayed in a bunch of the different areas, and that area at the bottom gets hit in the peak of the summer from like 7:30, 8 a.m. all the way till about 3 p.m. And it's hot. So, and it's on that incline. You can see, I guess, the topographical change, right? 230 down to 210.
It's a plateau type thing where it's comes up from the west and then it plateaus and then it drives down. You can see that really clearly on the contours.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
And then is this some kind of like protected area, this green, this riparian area? Is that some kind of like Ontario has like a green zone thing or something like that? Is that part of that?
No, no.
Okay.
This is just a wooded area on their lot that
Okay.
they have little trails through.
Oh, good. Good. So
Yeah.
they can use that. Wow.
Yeah,
And
people cruise around in there now. Yeah, it's good. And they have their water system, and there's a huge septic. Like that's what's really interesting about I've learned about this is that that whole all the campground sites feed into. Then there's a septic system that weeps down towards the highway there, so that the I think the forest, the trees contribute to breaking some of that down or something. There's some weeping system right there as well.
oh, okay, neat. I'm just gonna pull this up on Google Earth as well, because then I
Yep,
can draw on it and stuff.
sure.
Let's see here. So
Yeah,
these fields are this is quite big. This is a lot of like usable land. So it's basically the idea to, you know, just to put it in real layman's terms, is to have this sort of agritourism type thing. Also food security for yourselves and all that, but you want to somehow have the farm available that people in the can pay for some kind of involvement. You're gonna have workshops there or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to that effect. Or will they come to stay for the weekend? Either it's a workshop or it's included. They already do a bunch of different activities like that. But yeah, something to that effect. But the first step, I guess I didn't outline, is we're just going there for this first year, and we're going to do our little like 50 by 100 or something. And we bought a greenhouse, and that was the first little bit. I don't know if I can draw on here as well at all. I've never done that on here. If they give me a marker.
Well, you could, but I won't see it
Oh, okay, right.
unless,
So
yeah. But you
so
can tell me.
yeah, I can tell you. So where your cursor is, right? Go back up there.
Yeah.
So there's that path that comes where you can see the pool to the right there.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you follow that path along, and that kind of curves around the field that you've already shown, right?
Yeah.
So if you stop right where that sort of elbow is in the road towards the left, going towards the west. So keep moving along, keep going
Moving up.
along. No, you can stay where you are, but just move your
Okay.
cursor along. I'm just trying. Yeah, keep going a little bit left. See that elbow? Stop right there. Come back
Yep.
to the regular. Yeah, right there. So just like north about 50 feet. Yeah, there's a little zone, but only about 50 by 100 right in there. It's actually flat. So if you remember that topographical map, there's a bit of a flat spot right there.
Oh, okay.
That's where we're going to do our first thing, where we bought that greenhouse, and we're going to fence it in, and we're going to
In this field here.
yeah,
Yeah.
just in the small part. That's our trial for this year. And the bigger expansion, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But really like the bottom right, so like the southeast corner of that, just a small plot is what we're physically going to do based on, you know, time constraints and like to learn. That's
Yeah.
where we want to do it. It's a flat spot. It's near where we're going to stay. So that's the first step. And then the other things that you're drawing, the big circle around at the bottom, and
Yeah.
then the one up, but that narrower band,
Here.
that's there.
Yeah.
That's where I want to talk about the cabins and things. But
Okay.
yeah, because the way you can nestle the cabins in that tree line, and you want a bit of canopy so that they don't get hot. Because
Okay.
like to use as little energy as possible, you got to use your site as much as possible. So
Right.
if you can make that cool, I don't have to put a lot of power into them. I don't have to get too crazy. And
Right. Excuse me,
it's
my
not.
son. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Toby? No. Yeah, buddy. My son was getting behind my computer, ready to start unplugging cables.
Yeah.
That's a no-no. Okay, so yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. No. You've outlined that's like the future expansion. So the upper part and then the lower part, the larger plots are sort of the future idea. That little one in the middle that we showed, that's kind of a bit of a plateau. That's this season. That's happening within the next month.
Yeah.
Just to get started and then go from there.
Yeah, that's that 0.66. And you're gonna like camp out next to it or something?
Yeah, we're gonna be somewhere in this zone, and we'll be able to do that. I mean, I have to go in and out of the city still, but we'll be there so that we can tend to it. And then we've got a little community of people who are going to be there already.
So
it's
cool, man. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like some things I can help you with right away on this. Is like you want to put what kind of greenhouse do you want to put in here?
I have it on my I have like a Dropbox paper file, but I could
okay, is that the one? I got everything here. Did you share that one with me?
I don't know. Do you want me to put the link in the chat?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. I think that'll be pretty easy to just be able to like click on that and get right into it.
Yep.
There's it's a Grizzly Shelters. It's a Canadian company.
Okay.
That was the first, just like a high tunnel, I think it is. Yeah. 14 by 8.5 by 24 long. So something to get started with. And robust, because there's a crazy wind that comes up from that long, narrow patch of field in the north through that middle section and then down that hill. So we wanted to get something sturdy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Here, let me share this, what you just shared with me. Very cool.
I'm loving the Dropbox paper these days. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, I haven't utilized this yet, but this is cool to see this.
You can just drag and drop everything, and it kind of makes
it's kind of like Evernote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so you want to put down a little high tunnel like that. 14, 24. Yep. Okay.
And then if you scroll down in that document, I get into the types of things that we're going to do. So I mentioned I took some of the pieces from your the Shit Hits the Fan farm from last season, grabbed a couple of the things that we liked, right? And everybody's like, I want this and that. So then I came up with this list here and went to Damn Seeds, bought a bunch of that stuff and got it. Thank God, because I know there's like a 6-week long wait list right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got all this stuff here essentially.
Wow.
So some of it's going to be outside of the greenhouse, some of it will be inside. So I would love your input on a few things. So I'm looking into irrigation because given that it's it's covered tunnel, I'm not always thinking about all these parameters, but obviously there's no rain going to get in there. So I have to bring in irrigation, which I can get water.
Yeah.
And then which would be the most ideal plants in there? And it seemed like the tomatoes, and if we were to do peppers and things were, as you mentioned, like the shoulder season, so something that's going to last longer. And I want to create that Excel spreadsheet like you had shown that helps me figure out when I got to start. Like I assume I got to start pretty soon, right, with the tomatoes.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you should start now, but you're not crazy late. Like
Okay.
I've got, I just a week ago I started everything, most of my like long season stuff, so it's fine.
Okay. So I was thinking, what's the best stuff to put inside the greenhouse?
So where are you going to start all this stuff then?
I have a bunch of grow lights and things for the basement, so I can start a
indoors.
reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, so you definitely want to start your tomatoes now, start your onions now. So real quick, what's the goal of all the stuff you're going to plant this year in this little area? What's the goal of this? Just to start growing stuff and playing around and
Yeah, I mean that's how I do everything. It's like prototyping for me.
yeah,
It
just
sounds
going
like a
for it.
weird
So
word.
you're not looking to sell this stuff or whatever. It's just like let's grow some stuff and see how it goes.
Well, I'm looking to do it probably in a larger scale for next year. But what we could do here, and I have to figure out the parameters. Maybe you could tell me this: is that there's like thousands of people that come there every weekend. So if we were to set up like a stand and we have produce that's in excess, because there are some families that want to have some from this, and they're going to contribute help. To this, so they get some, but then you've got this constant revolving droves of
Thousands
people
of
that are coming.
that come through there a week.
It's huge. So I don't know
That's
how many
insane.
sites
Like
they have.
not just camping, but I guess just coming through to hang out in the park. I don't get it. Why
Yeah.
thousands of people?
Yeah, I mean, this is the world. I grew up doing like cottages and doing different things. I never was in like doing the campground scene, but having tried it out for the last couple of years, I kind of get it. Like people it's a simple thing. Most people bring trailers. This isn't like tent camping, and these guys have cabins and like nicer accommodations, right? This isn't like backcountry. And clearly the location is not Algonquin, so it's not people looking for that super disconnect, but it is some form of disconnect. So you'd get a lot of people, and these guys have been killing it because they've been investing a lot of money in their business, so they get lots of repeat customers and lots of happy people. So I think we can tap into that.
Wow.
And that's also a blueprint for campgrounds, because a lot of people, I don't think they realize what they have with the zoning and with the nature of what you can do with that infrastructure, which is going to be harder and harder to get in place, I think, in the near future.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all things from my family and friends who are contributing, sell to the campers that are coming in, and then scaling up lessons, more, and probably even be able to sell more to the campground into the local area, I suppose. But I haven't got my mind around that like year 2, 3 just yet.
Yeah, well, yeah,
That's the
baby
vision.
steps, and it's good that you're just kind of going for it and getting started, and you'll figure out a lot of these details along the way. You'll also, what'll be really neat is you'll get since so many people come through real quick, you'll get a real sense of who's into this or not. And that, I always like the idea of like prototyping things with people and just talking about it. And then you get a real sense of like interest. And that's a good thing, because then ideas will come, partnerships will come, all kinds of possibilities. Like, people are everything. And so that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm learning that more and more every day.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. Yeah, so that is it. I appreciate that. I use the word prototype. It sounds a little bit surgical maybe, but
No,
to
but that's
me
what it is.
that's how I understand it. Yeah, absolutely. Talking to people, what sticks, what doesn't, try something different next year. It's just, I find that's the best model so far.
Totally. So if you've got indoor space, I mean, start your peppers now, start your tomatoes now. You could, is the snow melted there now?
Almost all gone.
Okay. Okay. So, you could start, like, when do you, how much land do you want to, so you're going to put down that little greenhouse, and then how much of this field I thought you might have said it was at a 50 by 100 or something?
I'm thinking about 50 by 100, but again, that might not be quantified in terms of the actual space, because I got my seeds late, so now I can see how much space they need between them, and I would build something maybe even in CAD just to kind of lay it out, or even do like what you did, right, with Excel. So I think 50 by 100 is enough, because we're going to fence that as well, so to keep the critters out.
Yeah. So what's a 50? Let's see here. Where's 50 feet? Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, it's quite small. Like, if you could do, yeah, there's 100. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not? I mean, you might as well just stuff the greenhouse, back here. It's just a small little greenhouse. Put it close to wherever you're going to be staying, so that you have access to it, and tucking it up in that corner gives it some wind protection from the north. With these trees, also gives you lots of exposure. It really opens it up, and then you could, that field, just put it right around here. Just do all this, get that field here, 50 by 100, whatever it is.
So
go with that for now.
What about putting the fence around the greenhouse too, or bringing it up to the door, like creating like a little enclosure of sorts? Or is it like kind of a waste of fencing, I guess, if it's
no, I mean, do you want to fence this whole thing?
No, just like what you're showing there, because I think if we go from here, it would probably be much larger, and I don't know if I would fence that. I think it would be more traditional, right? Like, you just be,
well,
I don't know, actually.
My thinking is, if you're gonna, like, are you talking about like permanent boundary fences? Like, you're gonna put in like 10-foot posts and then do like a high tensile fence kind of thing?
Possibly, yeah.
So, I mean, if it were me, I would just fence this whole plot, because you're gonna expand into it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only fence, like, let's say you do this area, let's say you kind of do it around the greenhouse a bit or something, you kind of do an area like that. If you fence that now, and then next year you want to do more land, now you have to pull out fence posts or open things up, and then
go ahead.
Like the cost, like, so it's about let's calculate it here. It's about $15 a foot. So let's just see what this would, if you were to fence this, what would this approximately cost? If you just went and said, let's just do the whole thing, because at the same time, maybe you're not 100% sure where this project will go, and then I could see a reason to start small. But 634 feet there, 634 times 15. So yeah, $9,500.
Wow, yeah.
opposed to if you just did it. So, you know, 9,500 bucks opposed to if you just kind of fenced what you're going to use this year. $294 times 15. Yeah, half, you know, 4,400 bucks.
Okay.
But I mean, having said that, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, because if you were to refence, you can see my screen, right, on the Google
Yeah,
Earth.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, like, if you did that, you said, okay, let's just start with this.
Mhm.
If you wanted to expand into this, you're going to have to unpull all of these,
Right.
and then you can reuse them, right? It's just it's labor. It's labor to pull them out, and then it's labor to build the fence anyway. So that's going to happen regardless. But you know, you got the labor to pull this up. It's not a ton of work, and
Okay.
maybe it, you know, I've certainly done things like that in the past, but
Okay. So
yeah.
a couple of questions for you then. So where that main full perimeter for the smaller area that you've just now created these little outlines. So the top left-hand corner. So from there, from that top left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner, there's quite a change of elevation. Like it dips down, and those trees are all back there. I mean,
Yes.
ideally, I think the greater growing area is in this front section. We're not going to do that because it's too exposed. Like we want, actually, that greenhouse is probably going to come closer to the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's the layout that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about the sun. Is the sun? Am I going to lose sun on the backside of those trees that are not going to hit it if it gets down in like a bit of a gully or like a bit on the backside
Oh,
of the?
okay. Yeah. Let me pull up. Let me look at the contour map and see. Oh, I see. Because yeah, this actually
Dips way down.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, it's not as clear on Google Earth as it is with this. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because
Really drop. Yeah,
slopes, this actually slopes to the north. Well, it's like west north.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So that little corner there, that's kind of why we wanted to do 100 by 50, because that's the only relatively flat area. And also, I mean, I think it would be difficult to install a large high tunnel if you don't have a relatively flat base, right?
So could you just use this?
That's already part of the campground. So
Okay. So you need to use this field. And so we're
And
really
it's
talking
tilled.
about this zone here.
Yeah, and it's tilled, right? So we don't have to,
Yeah.
tarp it. Or
Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Yep, that's yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's basically just what I showed you, but just you know,
Yes.
move it there. It's the same
Okay.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
so
yeah.
go
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, mostly was in the realm of the vegetables, and that would go in there out of that list is like, which ones to put inside the high tunnel. That was a big thing. So you mentioned the peppers and the tomatoes.
Yeah, those should go in the high tunnel, and those should also be started now.
Yeah.
And then yeah, in your high tunnel here, let me pull up your list. Let's just draw.
And that orientation that you showed, that's the most optimal orientation, right? The long side facing the south, right?
Yeah,
so
like what I just drew here. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was sharing Google Earth here. Let me share it again. Yep. Like
yeah.
that's
okay.
Because I orientated this to be true north, and so yeah, you'd run the tunnel this way, and then kind of just comparing to how the general slope. Are those 1 meter contours? What are those contours on this map? 1, 2, 3.
Not sure. Sometimes it'll show you the number as it drops.
Yeah, it says 5. Oh yeah, it's not that much of a slope.
No?
It's not
Okay.
that crazy here, especially it's a little bit flatter up top. So yeah, you could just kind of have your field. You could make it work in this kind of zone like this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, like that. I can screen grab that.
Yep, totally. I mean, this will also be posted too, so you'll see it soon enough. But yeah, definitely. And yeah, going back on that list. let's go here. Let's share that screen again.
It's cool. I can see that. Yeah, you can see your cursor is at Beets too. That's one of the neat things about paper is you can get right in there.
Okay. Yeah. So on your list, the things you're going to want in the high tunnel are really, well, I mean, for the summer season, it's just like those tomatoes and those peppers, really. Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff in there now, because I mean, if you wanted to, but if snow isn't melted yet, you know, if I were you, I would recommend on this year, don't try to get too complicated. Don't try to do things like you've seen me do, where I'm like overlapping production in a high tunnel to push it into winter and stuff like that. I would just try to keep it as simple, sort of standard gardening season as possible, where you're really growing May until the end of September. You know, sure, once the tomatoes come out, you could try to seed some stuff for winter, but it takes kind of experience to really do that without me kind of giving you this complicated succession plan on how to do this stuff. All of these things, all these crops you have here are all relatively easy to grow. You know, like, is this shared? Oh, it is. So I can just type in here. Like, I would start these, you know, your cucumbers. Well, you could put the cucumbers in the greenhouse too if you wanted. You could just do cukes, tomatoes, and peppers in the greenhouse. The cukes, so tomatoes I'd start now. Like I said, all the peppers I would start now. Cukes, you don't really need to start those until, what are we at? We're March 18th today. If you start, cukes don't take long. They're like 3 weeks in pots. And then, so I'm thinking even by end of April in an unheated greenhouse, yeah, they could be okay. So you know, you could start those. Let's see here. Shit, you know what? You could actually start your cukes now too.
Okay.
But they're gonna go in plant in ground in 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. The tomatoes, they're gonna be in, you're gonna start them now in smaller cells. I mean, if you've got the space, you can start them in bigger pots now if you have the space. But they're going to be like 7 to 8 weeks in pots. Same with your peppers. And so that's all the tomatoes. And then potatoes, I mean, you're not really going to plant those in the ground until, I would just say, May 1st. Okay. Carrots, you could do the same thing. Beets, the best way to do beets is start them as transplants, but for a first year garden, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would just wait till like May 15th to plant those in the ground. Okay. Chard, you could put in there May 1. Beans, definitely wait till May 15th. Corn, you could do the same thing there. Basically all this stuff. Cabbage, I'm never a fan of doing cabbage in the main season. I always do it like July 1st, or call it, say, June 15th. I always do cabbage as a fall crop. That way you pass aphid pressure. You do a lot of these brassicas, like Brussels sprouts are definitely the worst. You do not want to do them. Save yourself the hassle and the disgust of just the amount of aphids that they get. It's just not, I just do it in the summer, and then they get a bit of aphid pressure in, like, maybe you'll start to see it in August, but then you'll get a frost before anything establishes, and then the frost kills all the bugs, and then you got a really nice crop going into the fall. Okay. Onions, you could start now for sure. Garlic, that doesn't go in until October, 15th and on. Right. October 15th to like November. In Ontario, it's a little bit later or a little bit earlier than we do it. I can plant garlic here as late as like late November, but your guys' winters get colder quicker. Right. Zucchinis, they don't need a lot of time in pots, but that's going to be an outdoor crop. Is this cool? Just kind of going through this list. Is this helpful?
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
you're typing it in and it's showing up on my end. I don't have to do
Okay,
anything.
good. Yeah, so I mean, those zucchinis, they can go out into the ground by middle of May. So I would start them, yeah, kind of third week of April.
Okay.
And then transplant mid-May. That looks like everything there. You want to do this stuff hydroponically. Where do you want to grow that?
Yeah, I'm already doing that stuff in the basement. It's pretty
Oh.
cool. I built just like an NFT system, and that's again just an experiment, but it's working out. So
Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah. So in the winter, when we can't do any of this, that's kind of one of the places I'm going to go to try to do.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, good.
Can I ask you a quick question about?
Yes.
I know I don't want to get too technical, but one of the things I really liked about some of the videos you were explaining, there are certain winter crops that you could plant that you end up keeping in a greenhouse over the winter that you can harvest.
Yes.
It was got spinach and a few things. So could I consider anything like that? Does that happen after
Absolutely.
the stuff's been pulled out, or do I plant
Well,
it?
that's the thing, and that's the problem with small greenhouse. Like if you only have so much greenhouse space, you can do it. It's hard. It just means that you need, like, you could seed, you could have that greenhouse full of did you buy any kale seeds?
I do have some.
Okay, so you could do, I mean, if you got kale, you could start that now as well, and then that would transplant in the ground in like 4 weeks. But then you could also start a fall crop again, June 1st, transplant July 1st, and then that'll be overwintered. So that's going to be difficult in your greenhouse because your greenhouses are full of tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers.
Yeah.
So you can try interplanting, but it's a thing that's like,
It's a little tricky.
experience really makes that easier. Like without experience,
Sure.
I mean, you could go and watch some videos I've done on it. Like I've showed how I interplant and cross over a summer crop, and then I get a winter crop established on the foliage. I trim all the bottoms of the tomato plant so that light comes in, and it is kind of, in a small greenhouse, it's a pain in the ass. It's difficult to do. But spinach is easy enough, because as long as you pull out your tomatoes by the end of September, you could clean up those beds, refertilize them, recompost them. You could plant that spinach in mid to late September, and then establish that going into winter, and then have something in there all winter. You could do that.
Yeah, I just want to see if I can get a little bit of that experience, not going crazy on it,
Yeah.
but if I can maximize, if I have to take a couple of tomato plants on just to figure out how this works, because I think that's a pretty meaningful skill set within that realm to have that into the winter a little bit. At least that's how I perceived it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what I did here is I gave you starting dates for this stuff, but like carrots, for example, I would recommend doing 3 plantings of carrots. So do a May 1st planting, and the amounts you do is entirely up to you, how many beds you want to do. What I'd recommend actually is doing things in small units.
Yeah.
Because that way you can get lots of experience. You can kind of fuck around with like different styles. So like, let's just pull up Google Earth here for a second again. And then I would say, like, let's say that's approximately your field. And you could, what's our dimensions here, just to give me an idea of. So that's 66. Yeah. So you could do a bunch of like you could run beds whatever way makes the most sense geographically. Like I'm not seeing the exact contours here, but I think we start to slope down this way. And so maybe it would make sense to run beds just north and south like this.
Oh, okay.
Let me look at this map again.
For me, it's all an experiment anyways. It's not, we'll try it and see how that works. And then when it
yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is this. Can you see my board here?
Yep.
So, you've got this whatever shape thing. And so just to kind of mirror what we have here, here's that greenhouse. And then you've got this kind of plot it doesn't have to be this pattern, but it's kind of dictated by your slope and the areas that you're limited in.
Yep.
So what I'd do is I would just run beds like this.
Right.
And then basically split them up. So whenever you succession things, do chunks. So like I'm just going to pull up that map of that list. Yeah. So take a bunch of things. So like we said, we're going to do some carrots on May 1st. You could, you know what, you have lettuce. Do you have some lettuce seed in there too?
Yeah.
I saw some choy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Like, so, you'd say, okay, this is a May 15th planting here, or no, let's call this one a May 1st. Is that what we said for? Yeah. So like, okay, so that many carrots.
Yep.
That much lettuce. Do do some spinach, do some radishes, do some beets. Okay, one bed, boom, plant it out. That's basically what I look at on a larger scale as a block. But you can mimic the same thing in a bed, and then just get the same idea. And then okay, now let's do this bed. Let's do a May 1-5 planting. So let's do another chunk of carrots. Let's do another chunk of beets. Let's do some more lettuce. Let's do some more radish. Let's do some more spinach. Then work your way down. And then you just divide these beds up into, I don't know, whatever it is, 10-foot chunks or something.
Yeah.
Now you're going to do a June 1 thing. Let's do some more, whatever. You start to do some more succession planting, and then you'll see stages.
Okay. That's
cool.
Yeah,
and then, I would say for something like potatoes, actually, maybe let's just keep this. This is another May 15th. Do like a whole bed of potatoes.
Right.
Around that same time, you could do a whole bed of corn. Let's just do lots of corn. There's a whole bed of corn there. Cool. And the important thing is like the basic methodology I'm trying to explain here is the idea of just doing lots of small chunks of things in different successions, and that will give you a broad perspective of how different crops exist in time and space.
Yep.
Opposed to, the typical gardener just goes and plants everything out in May 15th, and then that's their garden for the season.
Right.
But then you get a very limited scope on how things change throughout the season. And so it's important to do multiple plantings. Like I'd say, with carrots, let me just share this again. With carrots, do a May 1 planting, do a June 15th planting, and then do an August 1st planting.
Okay.
3 successions of carrots. The August 1st, that'll be your overwintered crop, but you could actually have it out of the ground, probably in your Southern Ontario weather. You could plant carrots August 1st and then harvest them at the end of September, or you could put those in a greenhouse and keep them in the ground all winter.
Okay.
You could do either or. That's what I do. Like I've got my little greenhouse that's in front of my passive solar greenhouse here, and I've still got about 20 feet of carrots that I planted August 1st that I'm still eating right now.
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, and you could do the same, as far as beets are concerned, you really could do the same succession plan for that if you wanted to. Chard sometimes overwinters in cold climates. Not, I mean, what's your coldest temperature in Celsius there in the winter? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I mean,
Minus 20?
without the wind chill, minus 20 is up there on some of the coldest days.
But what do you think it is on average? Minus 10 maybe?
Yeah, like minus 10. Yeah, minus 10 probably.
You know, you could keep some if you wanted to just have a sort of mix of things in that greenhouse in the winter.
Mhm.
You could do that. Like, so I'm just gonna do this Swiss chard. I like to group these because they're totally different plant families, but kale and Swiss chard kind of can do the same thing as far as their dates to maturity and how they do over winter. Like, you could do Swiss chard, you've got some in the spring, similar to this kale situation, but then you could also do this exact same thing with your chard.
Okay.
So you could do the same thing, you know, just to see how it goes. Do, like, you know, 10 plants of each in that greenhouse going in the fall as well, and see how they survive over the winter.
Yep.
So you could try that with beets too. Beets are the same plant family as Swiss chard. So whatever you can do with Swiss chard, you can also do with beets. In a really layman's simple way of explaining it, but that's what you can do. So you could have beets in that greenhouse. So, like, yeah, in that greenhouse, if you wanted to mess around and have some stuff there in the winter, I would say beets, carrots, Swiss chard, kale, and spinach. Those would be, spinach would definitely survive. The rest and kale most likely. The chard and the beets, we'll see. I don't. Ontario is a little bit different than here, but you get more sun, so it might actually do better than I have.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. Some questions for you about the bigger picture stuff, because I know we don't have tons of time. Don't wanted your personal opinion. You see how there's the high, upper, and lower. Like this, what you've given me here is like everything I think I know that I need, because that was just like, if I could get your input on helping me make a couple of those decisions, otherwise I'll wait until it's too late. So that's phenomenal place for me to start, and I can take it from there easily.
Okay.
It's kind of like the big picture, and we were talking about exposure versus non-exposure. So that one that's right by the highway, that one plot of land, it gets a ton of sun, but it's super exposed to the highway. And then there's that little one in the back. It's probably about the same amount of square footage or acreage, I think, but it's a little bit more hidden.
Let me pull up. Do you want me to pull up the contour map or Google Earth? What's better?
Let's do the contour map, I suppose.
Okay.
It's really, so the main thing I want to express is that tree line where it says obscured area.
Yeah.
You zoomed into there. That casts quite a shadow on that skinnier portion to the left of it.
Oh, this.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, plants grow. The farmer uses that field to grow. I think he just did alfalfa as he turns.
Yeah, like summer row crops will be fine in there. But it's very this area here in the springtime would be brutal. You couldn't really establish crops in here until mid-May, and then you'd have your typical May through September field crop farming season.
Right.
That's fine. But it's sloped to the north west, which is the most unideal slope for anything long season. You can grow anything anywhere, but yeah. So what do you want to know specifically?
So if we move upwards, so you can see the bigger portion. Yeah. If we keep going, so I know that area, it still does a lot of change topographically, but it's quite good, I think, in that open space. The trick is, I want to put these little cabins all inside of that tree line there, so that people could feel like they're looking in on something. And if you can, I can imagine in my mind's eye, like some of those aerial drone footage shots that you've taken of different guys, and they've created the high tunnels and different things. To me, that area is an interesting like central base of sorts where you could put up some of that stuff and you could have people, because I want to create some kind of a dynamic vibe or feel with that. So that's a cool spot for accommodation.
Yeah,
and
you mean running them on this side of the obscured area, or this?
Yeah. So like little cabins, you know, I don't know, 20 feet apart, and there might be like 10 of them, and they're looking in at the farm field. Because
yes,
for me personally, I don't want them looking at a trailer park
right
like rows, because
okay.
that's not attractive.
Yeah, it's I get it. Yeah, it's you're more, you get quite a bit of nature because you're backed on the tree line, and then you also have another tree line at the edge of the property, and then you've got fields in here.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that's important to keep in consideration with the context of this is busy season also aligns with typical gardening season. Right. So your typical gardening season is May 15th until, call it end of September, call it October 1st. That's also when the majority of your tourism is going to be, probably the high point is going to be June, July, August, right?
Yes.
So if you wanted to have gardens in here, easy to do, even though it's, you know, it's pretty much direct west facing here, which is okay. But it's all like mid-season growing anyways, which is fine. You're not trying to push the shoulder season here, so who cares?
So if it was like, what if it was like flower fields or crops or different things to, you know, bring people like sunflowers, because you see a lot of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, like just kind of focusing on beauty and aesthetics,
maybe.
And or even having some things like, do you imagine people that are going to be in these cabins, are these like weekend rentals, or are these kind of like month-long Airbnbs?
No, they would be like weekend stays, but for people who come in the summer months. So think about the school terms, right? So middle of June, and then all July, all of August.
Yeah. Okay.
So go for a week if they wanted to. Usually.
Typical sort of cottage country stuff. So do you want to have them be able to pull some food from those gardens then?
Yeah, I want them to maybe be able to interact and build paths and have some kind of a dynamic. Even like if I imagine your backyard, like you just have a flow to it where you're kind of moving around, and there's things like activities or points of engagement, right?
Easy. So yeah, let's pull up Google Earth here again. Yeah, so I think what you should do is just do a bunch of raised beds back there.
Oh, okay.
Because those are the easiest type of things to have people engage with, but not mess up.
Okay.
You know, so you could, if you've got your, if you've got sort of a strip of where these cabins are, say, occupying an area like that, then you could just block out and have, that'd be kind of neat to do a mixed thing where you had fruit trees in and amongst here, raised beds, and then people could really kind of walk around here and experience it without screwing it up. And so you could almost design, where is this? Oh, that's why. You could almost have sort of like design some kind of path system in here so that anybody could walk in here, and then there's this sort of path that takes them through the gardens.
Yeah.
And it'd be kind of a nice thing where they could walk in and around here, you know?
Because you could have the regular tourists that are off to your right there come through down that little hill past our little garden and kind of walk, mosey or meander through that little narrow section, and then come upon, because it's actually, it doesn't look like much, but it does open up, and it's quite beautiful rolling hill there. And then the people who are paying to be in those cabins, they have that,
they get the premium spot. Absolutely. It's a great idea. And yeah, you could essentially have, and that's the premium real estate too, right? Is to rent these cabins. That's the premium thing. But then, yeah, you could easily have, and you just totally control it. But, you know, you've got anybody who's in the RV park, they can kind of walk through here. They can see this garden. Then they can walk through this sort of riparian area. where they get this little forest path, and then boom, it opens up into the field here, and then connects with this other path that zigzags around in and amongst the gardens. And then you could just have their path just basically, let's say it ends, whoops, it ends, why is this not working? Oops. It just ends here, and then it comes back and then loops them back into the RV park. And then they kind of had this full tour of all these varying different types of landscapes. Okay, here they're just in an RV park. It's not that exciting. Oh, wow, this is a neat little garden coming along here. Oh, look at this, some row crops, little greenhouse. Isn't that pretty? Keep following the path. Then you get this diverse mix of landscape, which is exciting for somebody to experience. Yes. And it would be really quite a majestic experience to be walking through this forest, and then you come into this open field. Maybe there's like a bunch of sunflowers down here, like this area here. I wouldn't put much garden stuff in here because it's going to be the shadiest for longest, but you could pack it with sunflowers and beautiful things. And then they come into the garden and they see all these garden beds full of all kinds of vegetables.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I hadn't completely envisioned that, but what you're saying right here is amazing. And that whole idea of giving the user like the feeling that they're happening across something and that you're constantly engaging as you progress through, that's a pretty powerful little move.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's the kind of the elevate, it's like writing a piece of music that takes you on a different journey where you've got one type of experience here. And that's the neat idea actually about, the more I think about this, the more I like it actually, is that if they first, and you'd have all these signs in here that say, go this way to the garden. Actually, I have a buddy, I did a video. Did you see that video I did with Orchard Hill Farm, guy in Kelowna? He has an RV park, did a similar thing to what you're talking about. Check it out. It was the video about old machinery. They refurbish all these old Alice Chalmers tractors and stuff. Anyways, they did a similar thing, but it's this idea that, okay, you get people going through, they have one experience. And then the neat thing about seeing this garden here is that this is a neat garden. It's organized. There's some stuff happening there. And that's where like things are more established because they were started earlier in the season. And then you walk them through, they come to this beautiful forest path, which is a nice walk in and among itself. And you could even zigzag, you could utilize this area a lot more than what I did. I'm just spur of the moment drawing this out. But then this idea of, wow, you had this beautiful nature walk, and then you walk into this, it's like almost they discover it in a way. They walk into this opening, holy shit, look at all those sunflowers up there. I could just imagine kids kind of losing their shit when they see that. And then they come down into this area, or come up into this area maybe, or does it come down?
That I think comes down. That's pretty
comes
flat.
down. Yeah, it comes down, which is even better because you come down some kind of path, and then you can see in the distance, whoa, look at all this yellow. You see all these sunflowers. They come in, and then there's this path that goes through there. You can even have a corn maze in here, something like really kind of cheesy for kids. They would love that.
Now you're talking.
A corn maze, or like a sunflower maze. Yeah. And then they come through, and then, whoa, look at all these gardens. And then as they come up here, then they see the cabins in there. And the sweet thing about this too, from a business perspective, is you just upsold everybody who was in the RV park this year to rent a cabin the next year.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're all going to come through, but it's like, whoa, wouldn't it be cool to have a spot here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And yeah.
Cool, Curtis. That's extremely helpful, like, to say the least. I really appreciate you putting that in there. And I always think I have all these great ideas, but it's nice to get better ideas. And
oh yeah,
thanks, man.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. And so I think you got a lot to start with here. And I mean, keep in mind with the raised bed, like, you don't necessarily have to do raised beds. Like when I talk about that area where the cabins are, wood's so expensive right now. You know, maybe you could just do nice hilled up beds and then put mulch, like wood chips in the pathway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just doing a thing like this where you just do a mounded bed. And so here's like a couple 30-inch beds. and then you just put wood chips in the pathways.
Okay.
Those can be aesthetically pleasing. And then as far as, you know, families and especially kids walking through, it's very clear where to step and where not to step.
Yes.
That's what's super important when you're doing gardens integrated into lifestyle is, and then you want to have a, like, I would say at least an 18-inch foot path, maybe even 2 feet, just
Okay.
so like, actually, yeah, 2 feet. That way, if somebody's pushing a stroller with their kids or they're pulling a wagon with their kids, they can go through and there's lots of space.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, like there's no real need to make things super intensive in this context. This is mostly about aesthetics. But how cool is it to go on a walk and then, oh, there's some beans, help yourself, you know, there's a pepper plant or whatever. There's things that they can engage with, and it's pretty cool.
That's another aspect too. Just even being able to allow to go in and do like a you pick scenario, like at certain times of the year. Maybe if we don't even want to do that, now all of a sudden there's more free labor and then more experience, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot here, but I think by you just getting started, you'll have a great discovery period as you talk to people and as you try things. You have such a big advantage in that you have a lot of people coming there, and like I said, people are everything. And so like I always found out at farmers markets, I loved trialing things with customers and say, here, take a bag of this. And the fact that you can like talk to 10 to 100 people in a day, and if you're as perceptive to you sound like a very perceptive guy, that you're going to pick up on things that they're sensing. And so you're going to learn really quickly what people are going to like and what they're not going to like. And that should guide everything you do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about the people, and I agree about everything you're saying. So thank you very much. I really appreciate
Right on, man. This is great. So I think what we'll do is we'll circle back. I want to circle back with you, like maybe late summer or end of summer, and see where this has gone.
I would love to. And good luck and your design and all your endeavors out in the bush there. I'll be watching that too.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, this is a really exciting project, Evan. I'm super stoked for you. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. Don't take on too much, you know, do what you can. But yeah, if you can get people to help you too, things might go quicker than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is probably one of the most enticing things about using this model, and even just putting a little bit of a word out to these people, is that the response that we were getting, and the fact that I have enough of a plan here. People are like, okay, well, I can, work with this guy or work with this family, and it's just sort of moving along. And when I mentioned to them that I was going to chat with you a little bit, like the woman who's running it, who owns it, it's like, holy shit, like, let's do this.
Right on.
Yeah, she knows a bit about that. So yeah, we're pumped, and I'm really grateful. And again, I'll say it, and everybody says it, but I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Thanks, man.
It's made a big difference, and yeah, I'd love to keep in touch. Obviously, we'll keep in touch in the summer, and yeah. Good luck with the live stream soon, man.
Great stuff, brother. I'm gonna jump into that live stream right now. So yeah, we'll connect you again with you soon.
Okay, thanks, man.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the open consult. If you're not a member of FromTheField.tv yet, and you would like to be, between now and April 30th, which is Friday, at midnight, we are offering, for the first time ever, a one-time payment to become a member for life at FromTheField.tv. And so never have a reoccurring payment again. This is the first time we've ever offered this. So head over to lifetime.ftf.tv to check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. See you in the next video.